Game week 25 is fast approaching us, but we learned so much information in game week 24. Is Sarr on penalties now for Crystal Palace? Is Mbeumo going to continue playing number 9 for Manchester United? Let's discuss. Now, before we get started, make sure you guys like this video because this is a different sort of video that we've done on the channel. We're going to analyze all 10 games in game week 24, the key talking points for every single game and how they affect FPL. But anyway, because this is the first video of this sort on this channel, let me know what you guys think down below. Any feedback, any graphics that you want to see, any different stats you want to see, let me know and I'll try my best to change it for next week. But anyway, let's start with the 3 o'clock games on Saturday, starting off with Leeds Arsenal. Very, very good victory for Arsenal. But I think the main talking point before the game was obviously Saka's injured in the warm-up. I found a quote from Arteta and I thought this quote was very, very interesting. One thing I would say, take Arteta's quotes with a pinch of salt. But he did say, in the warm-up, he had a little niggle. The key word, little niggle. He wasn't comfortable starting in the game, so immediately we made the decision to make that change and bring Noni Madueke in. So from the quote, it doesn't seem like this Saka injury is that serious. Now, luckily for us, we have a game today. Arsenal-Chelsea in the Carabao Cup semi-final. Let's see if Saka's in the squad. Because if he's not in the squad, I'll be honest, it's going to affect Saka's minutes going forward. In terms of game week 25 when Arsenal-Sunderland. We know we're not going to hear any single information on Arteta, on Saka. So it could make it very, very interesting regarding how our plans change. But for now, let's just wait and hold. Noni Madueke came into the side. And he was very, very good. This is the problem that Arsenal have. Their depth is just so good. Madueke came in, and from an FPL point of view, if Saka is injured long term, Madueke could obviously become a very, very good option. Took 7 corners in the game, took all the corners from the right hand side, and like you guys can see down below, Arsenal are very, very dominant right down the right hand side. And this is why I always say, if you're a Euro and Timber owner, you want him playing down the right. It's so frustrating when they make that switch to odd game where Ben White plays right back, Timber plays left back, because Arsenal are just a lot more dominant down the right hand side. Also, Kai Havertz, his first league start in almost a year. He obviously played very, very well in the Champions League in midweek, and Havertz was brought straight into the 11. The reason I mention that is Havertz just adds something completely different to the Arsenal, let's say, front line, a different sort of dynamic, a bit more, let's say, a better presser from the front. Obviously, he played in behind Gyökeres in this game, but going forward, Havertz is back. He could obviously become an option, taking away Gyökeres' minutes. And obviously, you can probably argue Havertz probably combines with people like Bukayo Saka a lot better. Let me know what you guys think down below on that. But he definitely adds something that Arsenal maybe lack in that front line. So let's see how he impacts other players around him. And just, I said this before, I wanted to give Arsenal a lot of praise because Leeds are not an easy side to beat. Leeds were unbeaten at Ellen Road since November. This is a very, very strong victory for Arsenal. And listen, you guys can see the XG somewhere here. Like, it was a very, very dominant display from Arsenal. So full credit to them. Anyway, let's move on to Brighton Everton because this was also a game where I feel like we learnt a lot in regards to FPL, starting off with a Braithwaite starting left back. Now, why do I mention this? Obviously, a lot of people might have a Michael Keane, for example, and they might be thinking, is this going to be a long-term thing with Braithwaite starting left back, Keane starting centre back? The answer to that question is no. David Moyes came out after the game and he was talking about this setup, the 4 centre backs you could argue playing at the back, and he said, I've always had it in my mind it will be there as an option. You know, Pep does it as well, doesn't he? He thought about it at different times from now. It wasn't different for us. It was different for us. It was an injury which caused us to make the change. It wasn't a plan on Friday afternoon. Mykolenko just picked up an injury in training, which altered everything, really. So, regarding this, if everyone is fully fit, we expect Braithwaite to play at centre back, and obviously Mykolenko to be at left back. If you're a Michael Keane owner, you probably should wait just so you understand how long Mykolenko is out for. Because if Mykolenko is out for some time, or even 2-3 weeks, you can kind of delay taking out Michael Keane for now. But listen, long term, he's definitely going to be an issue. Braithwaite is now fully fit to start at centre back or start football games. He will probably play centre back because he's Everton's best centre back. Shrewsbury Hall also back starting. Second game back from injury, first start, which is obviously very, very nice if you're looking for a cheap midfield enabler. Harrison Armstrong, 4th start in a row. Now, the only reason I mention this is he's a 4.5 million midfielder playing for Everton. You might not want to know about it. You might want to know about it. He's just someone to keep on your mind just in case you ever need a cheap enabler. And I wanted to mention this. Everton had no shots in the first half. You guys can see it from the XG dynamic graph down below. I said this. Is missing Grealish now going to impact Element Ndiaye, who a lot of people are looking at, and also Dewsbury Hall to an extent? The reason I say that is, you guys can see, especially that first 20 minutes of the first half, Brighton were all over Everton. I believe Brighton had 7 shots in the first 20 minutes. The reason I say they're missing Grealish is, one thing we know about Jack Grealish is he's so good at carrying the ball, so good at winning fouls, and so good at retaining possession. Missing him, you can obviously progress the ball so well. How does that impact Everton's attack in terms of Element Ndiaye, Dewsbury Hall? They're probably going to get less of the ball because Everton might be under the cosh a bit more often because they don't have that release of Jack Grealish. Now, obviously, it's only been a couple games. Let's just see how Everton, let's say, perform going forward. But I just wanted to mention that as a potential talking point. And obviously, like I always say, make your own judgments. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Ayari from Brighton. If you guys haven't seen it, he's a 4.8 million midfielder. 4 goal contributions in the last 5 games. He gets the odd DEFCON here and there. He's one of the most informed midfielders in FPL right now. So listen, fair play to him. Brighton have also lost Gruder, I think that's how you pronounce his name. The German midfielder. He can play obviously number 10 in midfield. He can play on the right. They obviously lost it to Leipzig yesterday on deadline day. So that is just something else to learn. Next game, Wolves-Bournemouth. Now this was another game where Bournemouth won 2-0, but you guys can see from the XG dynamics, it probably was not a 2-0 game. But there are a couple very, very interesting talking points that I want to mention. James Hill, the 3.9 million defender from Bournemouth, started again at centre-back next to Senesi, and this was another game he got DEFCON. So like I said, he's definitely someone that should be on a lot of people's radar, especially if you can't get to Senesi with funds. If you're looking for a cheap defender, James Hill, in my opinion, is probably the best, let's say, 4 million or 4.2 million less defender to get. He's starting, he's playing well, he's getting DEFCON, he's obviously the long throw taker, which is so important, especially with the departure of Semenyo. Ryan Vitor, you guys saw me mention him in my transfer plan video. I have to mention him again. 5.5 million in FPL in midfield, incredible impact off the bench. And I saw Iraiola's comments after the game regarding Ryan. He said Ryan's probably better from the right hand side, which, listen, I've said that. He's probably more naturally suited on the right, can play up top, but he can also play on the left. But the impact that he did make when he came on was sensational. Obviously, he got the assist. There was another couple opportunities that he had where if someone else, I think it was Toff, if he had taken his chance, it could have been 2 assists for Ryan Vitor. So listen, he is definitely someone on my radar because I don't expect it to be long before he comes back into the side. I also wanted to mention Krupi Jr. Everyone loves Krupi right now, but he played number 10 again, playing off Ivan Olsen, who was the number 9. I saw Iraiola's comments after the game regarding Krupi playing there as well, saying how they're trying to teach him the role, probably a bit more from a pressing and defensive standpoint, because that's probably not what he's used to. But obviously, when he's scoring at this rate, you're going to try to find a way to fit him into the 11. And the goal that he scored was top quality. Tavernier. The reason I wanted to mention him is Iraola also came out after the game, or I think it was before the game, that said Tavernier is only 2 to 3 weeks away from returning. Now, the reason I mention that is a lot of people might have Ivan Nilsson, a lot of people might have Krupi. Tavernier is probably, let's say, Bournemouth's most natural number 10 to an extent we can say. So how does Tavernier coming in affect Krupi Jr.'s minutes? Probably does. Krupi's minutes will probably go down. Tavernier will probably play 10, especially because he's more suited to that role. And also, we know Tavernier will take penalties. We currently think Evan Nilsson is probably Bournemouth's penalty taker, so that is just something to keep an eye on when he's back. Wolves, I said this in the notes. Wolves are not bad. Like, you guys can see it from the XG dynamics down below. They had a higher total XG than Bournemouth. They were very, very unlucky not to score. Mane, by the way, everyone loves Mane right now. 4.5 million forward, constantly starting. Another 90 minutes under his belt. And I wanted to mention Yerson Mosquera, because obviously Mosquera is a defender great for DEFCON right now. But he's on 9 yellows. The reason I mention that is obviously Wolves are potentially going to double in Game Week 26 if obviously Arsenal reach the Carabao Cup final. I would not be looking to buy Yerson Mosquera. He's on 9 yellows. If he picks up one more, he gets a 2-match suspension if he picks it up before game week 32, which he probably will. So, listen, even if he doesn't get in game week 25, he could get in the first game week of the double in 26 if they do double, and then he'll miss the second game. And then you're stuck with a Wolves defender, which is probably not ideal. So I wanted to mention that. Make sure you guys probably don't buy Yerson Mosquera. Chelsea West Ham. Now, this was a very, very good game. I think everyone found it very entertaining, unless you're probably a West Ham fan, even though I think there was a lot of positives to take. Let's start by talking about Liam Rosenior. Now, I said Liam Rosenior may have learned a lot about the second string, because I feel like the Premier League is very, very difficult. All these teams are so good, and you can see the rotation, or let's say the second string players coming in for Chelsea, the drop-off was quite big, and you saw the difference Cucurella, for example, made in the second half. It changed it completely. Even Fofana, everyone made an impact when they came on. So maybe we might see some less rotation from the Chelsea manager going forward. But again, I think it's too early to call, which is why I've just mentioned that. Enzo Fernandez, I had to mention this as well. He's on the longest run of any Chelsea player in Liam Rosenior's team, starting in the last 6 matches in all competitions. That is very impressive, and something that as an Enzo Fernandez owner, or as a potential Enzo Fernandez owner, just buy him. He's going to play every single game. His minutes are very, very good. You saw it. He's on the pitch right until the end, and that's where he got his goal. So make sure you guys buy Enzo Fernandez, one of the best players to buy, arguably. I also got Cole Palmer played the full game, and I said he did not look good. I still don't think Cole Palmer's fully clicking for Chelsea. Now, if Chelsea do double, he'll still be very, very tempting to buy, because we know the ability that Cole Palmer has. But he got the full 90, which is a positive, and something that we've wanted to see if Cole Palmer can play that. Let's see how his minutes look today against Arsenal. I think this is going to be the big indicator on his minutes. Does he start? Does he get, let's say, 60 plus minutes? If he does, then he's going to be very, very tempting to buy, potentially for Wolves, even though I probably would avoid it. But listen, I just wanted to say Cole Palmer played the full game. And I also wanted to mention Somerville. Now, he's a 5.5 million midfielder. I've seen a couple of people talk about him on Twitter. 3 goals in his last 3 games. And let's say it's not just about the goals. His performances for West Ham had been very, very good. And I wanted to mention this in a bit more detail, because Castellanos, another 5.5 million attacker for West Ham. The impact that he's making on that West Ham side shouldn't go unnoticed. The reason I say that is West Ham are probably still not, let's say, a phenomenal side, but he's clearly adding a different dynamic to that front line, which West Ham lacked. He's linking up play relatively well. He's pressing from the front relatively well. And listen, is Castellanos really going to be an FP option? Probably not. I expect him to probably get between 3 to 4 goals until now to the end of the season. But he's just having a positive effect on that West Ham front line. Bowen on the right-hand side now looking a lot better. Somerville, even on the left, looking a lot better. And you guys can see it from the attacks by flanks and danger level. Down the right-hand side, West Ham were really, really dangerous. So if you're a Jarrod Bowen owner, you probably should look to hold him for now. But anyway, I'll talk more on Chelsea once the double potentially has been confirmed, because that will change a lot of our thinking. But anyway, let's move on to Liverpool Newcastle. Now, very, very impressive victory for Liverpool. That's the first thing I wanted to say. And there were probably, let's say, 2 or 3 main talking points. The first of them being Anthony Gordon. He played up top for Newcastle. You guys can read the quote. It's on the screen from Eddie Howe. He wanted a bit more pace up top. If you're a Walter owner still, look to move him on. Wiss is eating into his minutes, and Gordon is clearly eating into his minutes. But I wanted to talk about it more from a Liverpool point of view, because Wirtz, first of all, is the most in-form midfielder in FPL. Another game, another couple returns from Wirtz. He's looking very, very good. I also wanted to talk about this Arne Slot quote, because I found it very, very interesting. And I'll read it out to anyone that wants me to read it out. I don't know. I'll try to explain why it was difficult for them to play earlier in the season every 3 days. And now they're able to do that because they can keep going. They can play more often together. We can play more often with the same team or same combinations as last season has shown. The more you can play together, the better it is. So I feel like this is a big indication of Wirtz and Ekatike's, let's say, fitness levels. And I think this is more important to Ekatike, where Arne Slot is saying they can play every 3 days. Now, a lot of people, myself included, have sold Ekatike now, potentially looking at his minutes. Arne Slot coming out with that quote, I think, is looking very, very good for Ekatike's minutes going forward. So if you're an Ekatike owner, look to hold. If you're a Wirtz owner, this is another one where if I was looking to buy him, I probably would wait a week because obviously they're Manchester City this week, a very difficult game. But if you have Florian Wirtz, make sure you guys hold him. He's playing at a phenomenal level right now, and he just keeps getting points, he keeps getting goals, he keeps getting assists. He's finally looking like the player that we all knew he had the capabilities of being at Bayer Leverkusen. So I wanted to mention that. Big victory for Liverpool. Well done to them. The next game, Brentford versus Aston Villa. Now, obviously, there are a couple circumstances to the game. For example, Brentford getting the red card quite early with Sharda affected, let's say, the dynamics of the game. But from an FPL point of view, Tammy Abraham starting. He's, I think, valued at 6 million. Very interesting, especially if Watkins is probably going to be potentially out a bit more long term. But even not, because as I said, Watkins should be back for Gameweek 25. He's going to take minutes off Watkins. So if you're a Watkins owner, if you're looking to buy Watkins, I would probably avoid, because we know Tammy's going to eat into his minutes. And he looked very good as well. Tammy had a goal ruled out for offside. So listen, I'll probably avoid Watkins, and I probably would avoid Tammy Abraham for now. Douglas Luiz. Now this is a very interesting one, because he's 4.9 million in FPL. He had 3 shots in the game, and he created 5 chances. He was on every single set piece for Aston Villa. And there is probably a good chance that he's on penalties. The reason I say that is Watkins is obviously not a very good penalty taker. We all know that. If Douglas Luiz is on penalties, he's going to get the odd death on here and there. I think he got 8 in the game. He's obviously having shots. He's creating chances. He could be a very good sub below 5 million midfielder. Just so you guys know, just that I mentioned it. Just keep a lookout for Douglas Luiz to see how he does in future weeks. Vandenberg, 4.5 million defender. I know a couple people own him. First start since game week 17. That was because Collins had a knock in this game, but he did come on. So that is just something to keep an eye on in terms of how Brentford, let's say, set up defensively over the next couple games. And regarding Brentford, they have 4 clean sheets in the last 8. That is very impressive, because I don't think maybe people in the community have really given Brentford the credit from a defensive point of view. If you're a Kelleher owner, since that period, you've been laughing. And again, listen, fair play to anyone that owns Brentford defenders. By the way, guys, feel free to pause this video at any point so you guys can see the graphics down below if you guys are interested in anything. Manchester United Fulham. Now, this is probably a game where we probably should talk about it in a bit more detail, because it has a lot of implications for FPL. So make sure you guys like this video as well, first of all. And remember, guys, let me know any feedback on this video. And Mbeumo started up front for Manchester United. When Manchester United did make the sub, Sesko came on for Cunha, and then Mbeumo moved to the left. I think that's very important to know. One thing I would say is I don't think Manchester United, let's say, in the first half with Mbeumo up top, I feel like they lacked Sesko, if that makes sense. So it'll be very interesting to see how Manchester United's attacking dynamics look going forward, because I still don't think we've learned enough. And this is another game, by the way, I mentioned it. Manchester United only had 42% on the ball. And we keep saying it, when Manchester United have less than 45% of the ball, they seem to win games, which they've done again against Fulham. But when it goes over that mark, it becomes a bit iffy. So let's see how Carrick's, let's say, attacking dynamics are going forward, how Manchester United look going forward. But for now, a very nice victory. Cunha back in the 11 as well. 3rd game in a row he's now returned. I wanted to mention this graphic again. Manchester United down the left-hand side were not very good. You guys can see it. 0% of the XG in that game came down the left. The reason I say that is Cunha is clearly a player that's just going to flow. You saw the goal that he scored in that inside right pocket, and obviously he took the goal very well. But if Manchester United are going to continue with, let's say, Cunha on the left, it just doesn't seem right. Because it doesn't seem like Shaw is going to push up or has the same capabilities to push up and attack that left-hand side like he did a couple years ago, with his physical levels probably dropping as he gets older. So that is just something to keep an eye on. I also wanted to mention Amad Diallo. 6.2 million, another 90 minutes under his belt. Is he a viable option now for FPL? I think the answer to that question is yes. But then I think the question becomes, how does Amad Diallo at 6.2 million compare to the other, let's say, below 6.5 million midfielder? He competes with them, but do you want a Harry Wilson, for example, whose Fulham's fixtures are still relatively good going forward? Do you want maybe a Chelsea midfielder in Enzo Fernandez? I think he's around that price, probably a bit more. Or Iliman Ndiaye from Everton, who you know is going to take penalties. How he compares to other midfielders, that's up to you. But his minutes for now are looking very good. And I said it, as you guys can see on the screen, Manchester United obviously have a right-hand side dominance, which obviously helps someone like Amad Diallo. Casemiro. Now, the reason I mentioned Casemiro is he's currently 5.5 million and he gets no, let's say, hype or no real people talk about him in the FPL community. But he has more FPL points than Bukayo Saka. He has more FPL points than Elliot Anderson. Now, Elliot Anderson is obviously 0.1 cheaper. A lot of people talk about him in terms of consistently getting DEFCON. But Casemiro gets DEFCON at a relatively good rate. And he also chips in with a lot of goals and assists, as we saw on the weekend, just because Casemiro has the ability to attack the box relatively well. So for 5.5 million, if people want to just take a punt on Casemiro, because we know he's going to play pretty much every single game for Manchester United, he's actually not bad. So listen, he's one of the highest scoring midfielders in FPL. So just keep an eye on Casemiro. Harry Wilson. I just said he's still getting 90 minutes. Now, this is obviously a concern regarding Harry Wilson when the AFCON plays were back, how his minutes were going to look with Chukwueze and stuff. It will be. He's still playing the full game. He's clearly Fulham's main, let's say, talisman in that front line. His form has been brilliant. So listen, if you're a Harry Wilson owner, make sure you guys hold him because listen, he's just playing at an incredibly higher level right now. The next game, Forest Palace. Now, I don't think there was a lot to talk about regarding this game because obviously Palace have now signed Strand Larsen, which changes that, let's say, how Palace will set up in future weeks. But Sarr was on penalties. He scored a penalty this week. If Mateta is obviously still at Palace, he's probably not going to play because apparently he's going to have surgery, which means Strand Larsen will come in. Who takes the next penalty with Strand Larsen and Sarr on the pitch? I think that's a question mark. I think there's a potential that Strand Larsen takes it. There's also a good chance that Sarr takes it. So if you're just buying Sarr now because he's on penalties, don't. This is something that we have to wait and see. Yeremy Pino, 5.8 million, also played centrally for Crystal Palace. It didn't work, but Crystal Palace pretty much had no other options. And remember, Strand Larsen is now here. Strand Larsen, by the way, could be a very, very interesting punt that a lot of people might be looking at over the next couple of weeks. Especially if that Mateta surgery gets confirmed and Strand Larsen's minutes are good going forward. I might look for him to buy him for my own team. Just wanted to mention that. Sells injured for Forest, but like I said, remember, Forest are now signed Ortega from Manchester City. So listen, Forest is still fine defensively from that point of view. Elliot Anderson. Now we have to mention him because he got a 7-pointer. 8 weeks in a row now, he's got DEFCON. This guy is the DEFCON machine in midfield. There's no beating him. He's one of the highest scoring midfielders in FPL. Rightly, I think he's top 10 now. And listen, he's going to continually tick over with 4 points. He might get the odd 2 point. He might get the odd 7 point. But he's just ticking over very, very nicely for Nottingham Forest and obviously for FPL. Now, I also wanted to mention this. Because obviously a lot of people might be looking at Munoz. A lot of people might have Chris Richards or Lacroix in future weeks. Crystal Palace now only have 1 clean sheet in their last 10 games in all competitions. That is just something I have to mention because Crystal Palace is normally a defense that we associate with being relatively tight. But as you guys can see, it's not looking good right now for Crystal Palace. Obviously, there's a lot going wrong behind the scenes. Let's just see how Crystal Palace do. But I just had to mention that. Next game, Spurs, Manchester City, the Sunday 4:30 game. Very interesting game. Oh, I just realised I forgot to change the bottom graphics for this game. But anyway, apologies. We'll do it for next time. Haaland 1 goal in his last 7 games in the league. Now, that is very interesting because he might not be essential as people think right now in FPL. I still think you probably do want to own him. But then, listen, the rate that he's scoring goals at has clearly fallen. I think people should be more willing to take on captaincy against Erling Haaland coming up now. Because 1 goal in his last 7 games is not very good, especially for his high standards. And not even him. For anyone, 1 goal in 7 games is not good. Phil Foden benched again. Listen, if you're a Phil Foden owner, just call it a day now. Just get rid of him. Nico Riley played midfield. I thought that was very, very interesting in terms of Ait Nouri. Played left back. Ait Nouri, since he's come back from AFCON, has looked relatively good for Manchester City. The player that we know he can be from what we saw at Wolves. Semenyo. 3rd successive 90-minute game. Again, if you're a Semenyo owner, if you're looking to buy Semenyo, his minutes are looking very, very secure right now. He did obviously score for Manchester City in this game, but I don't think his overall performance was brilliant. I saw a lot of Manchester City fans criticise him on social media. So listen, there's obviously going to be that odd chance that he gets the benching, but for now, I think his minutes should be relatively secure. Xavi Simons. Now, I wanted to mention this because obviously Spurs probably don't have the best fixtures coming up. But I thought that was probably Xavi Simons' best performance in the Spurs shirt so far since he's joined. He looked amazing. And the last couple games, by the way, 11 shots and 10 chances created over his last 3 appearances. Those are very, very nice underlying numbers. So listen, he's 6.5 million. You're probably going to avoid it for now because Spurs' fixtures are not the best. But he's just very, very nice. Solanke's another one, 7.2 million. He looked very, very good. He should be fine for next week. I know he came off with a little ankle problem. He came out after the game. Once our players do those press conferences after the game, you know they're fine. Or interviews after the game, you know they're fine. Solanke should be fine. 7.2 million. Like I said, Spurs' fixtures over the next couple are not the best. But after that, they do obviously turn for the better. He might just be a cheeky differential. That's all I'm going to say, because we know the ability Solanke has. We know he can score goals. His Spurs career hasn't been, let's say, clean sailing because obviously injuries and stuff. But there is definitely a good player in there and potentially a very good FPL asset. The last game, Sunderland, Burnley. The Monday night football game. Listen, Sunderland very, very dominant. And I just saw this stat, or I found this stat that I wanted to mention. Sunderland still have not lost a game at home. 7 wins and 5 draws in 12 games at home. Now, the reason I mention that is because if you're looking at captaining someone at Stadium or that, you probably should avoid it. But away from home is obviously a different story. You can probably target Sunderland a bit more. But at home, they're literally unstoppable. They haven't lost a game. So listen, fair play to Sunderland. And I also wanted to mention Ronaldo, however you pronounce his name, the 3.8 million left back from Sunderland. He got 90 minutes and obviously got an assist. The only reason I mention that is he came off at half time in the previous game when obviously Sunderland weren't doing very well against West Ham, I believe it was. A very, very good enabler for size. The only reason I say I probably would avoid is Sunderland's fixtures going forward are not the best. But again, it's simple. If you have Sunderland defenders, you keep them. But you probably shouldn't buy them. Alderete and Mukiele. I wanted to mention these two because that swing, if you own Mukiele and if you own Alderete, has been extremely unlucky for Alderete owners. The reason I say that is I was looking at expected goal involvement. Alderete's expected goal involvement is currently 2 and he's got 2 goal contributions. Mukiele's expected goal involvement is 2.8 and he's got 6 goal contributions. He's got 3 goal contributions in his last 3 games. If you're an Alderete owner, you have been very, very unfortunate. But that is the, let's say, the vicious cycle of FPL sometimes. And I wanted to mention this. Burnley are just not good away from home. You guys can see the XG dynamics down below. They pretty much did nothing the entire game. 0.06 total XG for the entire game. The second half, 0.02. Very, very poor outing from Burnley. But anyway, that is the end of the video. Those are the key talking points, key notes from every single game in FPL in Game Week 24 and how that might affect future weeks. Let me know what you guys think on this video down below. Subscribe to the channel and we'll be back soon.